subscribe. Tariq Radio. Like and subscribe.
It's different now. The energy is real different. What was this guy? Let's get Jess Fields in here. Let's get Jess. What's up, Jess? What's going on, Jess? I'm letting Jess up. Jess is a very white man, boy. If I look up white man, and that's your picture.
It don't get much whiter than me, Tariq. How you doing,
Man,
man?
you are white.
I am super white, man. If I was any whiter, you could see right through me.
Man, I'm saying, I bet you got a cupboard full of Rice Krispie treats. I mean, you're that kind of white. Just s'mores and marshmallows, all types of shit.
I don't like Rice Krispie treats, dude. I'm not a fan of those,
White
bro.
man who don't like Rice Krispie treats
I'm not a fan, dude. I've never liked Rice Krispie
must be
treats.
from Eastern Europe. You got some Eastern Europe.
Maybe deep down inside, I'm not a fan of Rice Krispies, man. I've never liked that. I like chocolate chip cookies though, and brownies and cornbread.
Okay,
So
I have some Eastern European or some Middle Eastern, so you might be into baklava or some shit like that. So
I'm Eastern Orthodox. I actually am. I'm from the South. I mean, like my family's been in Texas for 200 years. So, but I do. I mean, I go to church with like a bunch of people who are from the Middle East, actually. So you're not wrong about that. I love baklava and stuff.
there
Yeah.
you go, my man. So what's on your mind tonight, Jeff?
I don't know, man. I mean, I just, I did a great interview with some folks. I talked to a guy. I've talked to several now, but I talked to a guy who's a Kenyan cinematographer about the USAID money, and I've listened on some of your spaces, Tariq, and I think you've got a lot of interesting points. I really do. But I mean, like the thing is that a lot of the Africans are really against the um, the whole concept of USAID because they feel like it keeps them poor. And of course, I think they're right. Like, I mean, like the money that comes into these countries is not helping the actual economy. It goes to like the NGOs themselves, right? So I think that's kind of interesting to me, right? Like the fact that you have all this money comes into a place like Kenya, which is the guy I interviewed is from Kenya. He's a filmmaker in Nairobi. And he said that no more than 20%, maybe even that's too generous, goes to the average Kenyan person. That's pretty depressing when you think about it. And how much money has the US spent and how much money has the US taken from folks that actually need it here in our country
Right.
and given it to other countries that are basically actually it's going to activists who are a handful of well-placed people. I think it's really, really stupid. So I don't know if that's what you're talking about, man, but I always interested in your spaces, and I've listened to quite a few of them actually, and I appreciate what you do, and I learn a lot here actually. So
I mean,
yeah,
I appreciate that. Yeah. Hey, man, that's why I say, look, let's just chill out with sending any of that money over there for right now. Let's get the economy straight over here. Let's get everything popping over here. That's what I'm on right now. Just let's get it popping here. Let me get Mel. Let's get Mel back in here. Mel, hop on in, beloved.
Tariq,
Hey, Mel.
bring Jess back
Oh,
up. Cause he was saying in the space that he don't think we're gonna get reparations. And he believed like if we do get reparations, something like the Haitian Revolution, we're gonna have to pay it back in taxes. Bring him back up and ask him about that.
okay. All right. Let me get him back up in a second. I get him back up. That's funny. That is funny. Okay. Let me get Kurt. Get Mr. Kurt in the building. Kurt got that old neck head in the thing. Kurt, what's up, brother? Mr. Kurt.
Hey, how you doing,
I'm
Tariq?
good, Kurt. How are you, brother?
All right. I just wanted to say three things. Like, they're claiming the Latinos did so much for us when we were down. Three things. One, going back to Zimmerman, you remember that the group of Latinos that had that restaurant, they did White Appreciation Day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh huh.
Mhm.
Uh huh. Two, two, where you at the Hawaiian Gardens gang? What Latino spoke up against that? The racist Hawaiian Gardens gang that was purposely killing us.
Yep. Uh-huh.
Three, Three, the racist sheriff gang down there, the executioners. Remember, they were allowing Latinos to join that. They had the Nazi tattoos.
Yep,
How many Latinos really spoke out against that?
exactly.
And I'll land my plane. And I'll land my plane,
Thank you.
brother. Peace.
Also, Nick Fuentes, he's a damn white supremacist who's Mexican running around here. People forget he's Mexican. Um, Enrique Tario from the damn Proud Boys who just got out of jail, he's Cuban. So all these dudes, y'all see, that's the thing. Y'all can't run to us for some help, and these Latinos coming over here joining white supremacist groups. But then you want us to help? No, no, don't. You're not going to shame us. Y'all not going to tell us all the shit you've done, and y'all got these people up in white supremacist groups coming over here. Yeah, that anti-black racism is too pronounced. Yeah, we ain't doing that, and we got our own battles to fight as foundational Black Americans. We're already dealing with. We're trying to get our reparations, which a lot of them spoke out against. Remember, when we talk about reparations, it was like the Latinos speaking out against it. You don't deserve it. We should get it first. Like what? Remember American Cholo and them dudes talking about they should get reparations over us? Like what the hell? And out here in LA, those city council members, that secret recording of these people, these politicians sitting around discussing how they're going to undermine the Black community of LA. This all was very recent. You see, that's why we ain't jumping up. We don't forget all that. We didn't forget none of that stuff. We didn't forget none of it. And again, we're still fighting for police reform, economic justice, housing equality, our issues that have not been resolved. Some of the police brutalities coming from them. So now it's not our responsibility to prioritize more you coming over here doing the same shit. No, no, no. We got to get our shit together. Yeah. Also, what's going on? This is not a civil rights issue because they keep trying to drag us in and trying to make it a civil rights issue because they understand they cannot make it a civil rights issue without us. That's why they want us in it so much. That's why they need us in it. See, they need to use our moral capital. See, we're not letting them do that because now we're valuing ourselves. We're not letting them use our moral capital. They cannot frame this shit going on with immigration as a civil rights issue. For one, number one, they're not citizens. These people coming over ain't citizens. So you're not qualified to be protected by the rights of this country if you are not a citizen. You see? Let's be very, very clear. Like the civil rights movement that we have, it was about justice for citizens who built this country. You see? So immigration protests, it's about securing rights, quote unquote, for non-citizens. So that's different. You're not legally a part of this country, but you want the same rights that we had to fight and die for, and you just want to walk over here and have us get beat up some more so you can come get the rights that we fought for, then you can turn your ass around and then violate those rights against us once you get a foothold over here. No, thank you. No, thank you. No, thank you at all. And also, another thing, too, let me be real. A lot of foundational Black Americans resent this whole guilt trip that these people are doing because we see where it's coming from. It's coming from a place of vitriol. And there's a growing awareness among foundational Black Americans that other groups only call on us when they need support for themselves, but they never return the favor. Yeah. And let's be real, these people protesting now, they ignored our causes. They didn't really help us. So that lack of mutual respect, that's why we sitting the joint out. We cool. We're sitting it out. And they need us badly. That's why there was one, y'all see the Latino woman on TikTok. She was like, "Hey, Black people, can it was one she was like, "Can we use the song We Shall Overcome for our movement too?" Like, hell no. They're trying to get permission to use our civil rights chants for non-citizens who are not qualified to be protected under the rights of this country. No, you can't. Hell no. Hell no. You can't use the chants and the slogans that we use that were justifiable for our people, where we had to fight these white supremacists and not flee. We had to stand and fight these people. I put up a picture on my Twitter today. Did y'all see the picture of a sister named Pam Eccles? There was a foundational Black American sister in the 1960s there because there were so many riots going on. Our young people over here were standing up against this oppressive system in massive numbers. And there was a riot, a race riot up in Milwaukee, of some young teenagers who were protesting against housing discrimination and police brutality. So the cops came in trying to act violent. So the FBA family started stomping back down on the race soldiers. And there's an image, a very iconic image of this sister, Pam Eccles, punching the shit out of a white cop in the face. This image has been around for a long time, but nobody knew the backstory of it. So that's what we were on back then. We were on that, going toe to toe with these race soldiers. Don't let people make you think that the 60s was all about John Lewis. That's another thing. And I know I beat up on John Lewis a lot, but what was going on in the 60s, there were two sides of the movement: the non-violent movement that they paraded around on television and the real deal that was going on in the streets. That was very necessary for them to use those optics. They knew that, okay, we have to show Dr. King and John Lewis and the respectable looking Black people, suited and booted, not being violent, having quiet dignity to a certain degree, while the street cats in the background was putting in work. So there was a balance. Everybody was working together. And it was very important to show one image on TV and the other image that was going on the streets. That was very important too. We never focused on what was happening in the streets in the 60s because of the media. The media likes to frame it like, yeah, we changed our ways because John Lewis and those guys were getting beat up and we whites felt so bad, so we wanted to give them their civil rights. No, 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 no. That ain't what happened. Black folks was taking it to the streets. Black folks was lighting these bitches up. Black folks was on roofs, sniping race soldiers, sniping fire department agencies, burning down discriminatory commercial businesses. Black folks was putting in some real work out here in these streets, hijacking planes, blowing up police stations. Um, that stuff is rarely talked about. Go check out my movie American Maroon. We touched on a lot of that stuff in American Maroon. We touched on a lot of it. Let me get the saint. Let me get the saint in here. He's a constitutionalist. And then I'm gonna get Jess back in here to talk about that reparation saying. The saint, you ready?
Yes, sir.
How you doing, Saint?
I'm doing well, my man. How are
I'm
you?
good, man. What's on your mind?
Hey, a lot of good points you said, but I want to call out if you grew up in LA like you did, so you sound like you're in LA
I am.
now, but I grew up in LA,
Yes.
and there was always a rift between the brown and the
Oh yeah, I know.
blacks.
Oh, I
Always.
know.
Yeah, so that's nothing new.
Oh yeah.
Um, but I want to call out there's another thing that's happening that's taken up a lot of the space for the black cause, and that's the H-1B visa system, man.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're bringing in, importing all these
And
tech workers from all over the globe, and they're kind of replacing that demographic, and that's another foothold that's kind of happening in the U.S. right now.
yeah.
I work in the tech field. Half my floor, or more than half, are people from India.
Oh yeah.
And so they're bringing them over with lower wages for these tech jobs, and then which is lowering the income possibilities for everybody.
Right. Right.
So you have to figure out how to control that as well. That's something I don't agree with Trump and Elon about, is that they want to import more.
Right. And I disagree with that as well. I absolutely disagree with that. But thank you so much. Let me get Jess back in here. Jess, hop on in.
Hey, Tariq, here I am, man. So, Melanie mentioned something about reparations. Um,
Mel,
you know, like,
Mel, where you at, beloved? Where's Mel?
yeah, you can bring her up. That's fine. Sure.
Okay.
She
So
was on the
now,
space of mine a little while ago, maybe a day ago or something like that.
okay. So what were you saying about reparations?
Well, I mean, look, I think reparations is a tough issue for many. I'll lay it to you straight. I think most white Republicans are going to have a hard time with reparations until you show that there's a society that's healed by doing something like this. And what I suggested, and I think it's a pretty easy, I think it's actually a really easy case, is the case of Haiti, because most Americans are not familiar with Haiti. But like with the situation where the French obviously were, being paid by the Haitian government, which was free actually long before the Civil War, Haiti found its independence, obviously, as you guys know. And I think that's a situation where France should be held to account for that because, I mean, France was getting paid well into the 20th century. And the second thing I would say is that I think reparations, if you're going to talk about reparations specifically, it's much more sensible, I think, to start with what's identifiable from the Jim Crow era and, going back to like maybe the early 1900s, mid 1900s. So a perfect example that's the Tulsa Race Massacre, because you had a lot of small business owners who were destroyed in that, and there's still a lady who is alive today who was a survivor of the Tulsa Race Massacre, right? So I think like that's an example where, if you had, for example, a civil action that led to some kind of a federal recognition, hey, this is something that, there needs to be some kind of a justification, some kind of a reparation, but I think also an apology, right? Like I think there needs to be some kind of a formal acknowledgement of that. And I think there's plenty of that from the era of the 40s, 50s, 60s. I don't think you're going to get Republicans on board with everything, Tariq. But I think if you start with the most obvious low hanging fruit, you get a lot of people who are like, you know what? I'm cool with that if it means healing a lot of the divide in this country. I mean, I'll tell you, for me personally, I grew up in Houston, Texas. I live in Houston, Texas. I love Houston. I grew up speaking Spanish and I grew up around literally every kind of person you could imagine because Houston's, as some people know, the most diverse city in the country. It's an amazing place to grow up. It
Yeah.
is.
Okay, okay, let me slow you down for a minute. Okay, no, what we're gonna do, because see, that's lollygagging and just kind of beating around the bush with the reparations. Well, let's just start it here. Let's start it there. No, no, no. We're gonna start with slavery. That's the biggie. Let's just because we're not just gonna keep kicking the can down the road. There needs to be healing and compensatory justice because of slavery. That was a major thing and it was horrible. And the legacy of it is still here. The benefits of it is still here. And the detrimental legacy is still here. That needs to be remedied and rectified. We ain't starting in no damn Jim Crow. We're going to start on what happened in them plantations. That was a horror show for a couple of 100 years that my family had to survive. That has to be compensated. The Native Americans still get compensation for what was done to them during the same time. We need the exact compensation that the red natives, and I'm specifying because many of us have native ancestry as well, or Aboriginal ancestry. We need to get the exact same template compensation that the red natives get. Nobody has a problem with that. They should not have a problem with ours. The only thing that they have a problem with is the anti Black racism that tells them we don't deserve anything because we're supposed to be on the bottom and we're supposed to be deprived of resources indefinitely. We've been the only group with a capital O in this country that has never received any type of compensatory justice exclusive to us. I just explained earlier how non citizens get more benefits from this government specific to them at our exclusion than we get. If we get something, it's like something for everybody. It's a lift all program. There
I
has
agree, Tariq. In that respect, I agree with you completely. I mean, when I say like starting with some kind of low-hanging fruit. What I'm talking about is just the political reality of it. Like reparations are a difficult political issue. I'm not saying that like on principle, I understand what you're saying, and I think you have every reason to say what you're saying. But like in terms of getting Republicans who run the government now and enough Democrats to actually vote for this, I think there has to be some progress in the culture. The culture has unfortunately tied, as you know, better than I know, tied civil rights to freaking transgender ideology and stuff like that. I mean, it's crazy. So we're unwinding all that crap now. I think as we unwind that, you start to see the real injustice of hundreds of years. And I think that's when the discussion can happen. Like it's a much clearer discussion if you start to have it that way, as opposed to saying, oh, well, this kid who decided that he was a woman and vice versa, now they get the same treatment. I mean, like I said to Mel in the space that we did earlier, and I believe this, like I know this to be true. Like, if not for the fact that we had the civil rights movement, which was led and chiefly championed by blacks, really pretty much blacks. I mean, there wouldn't be civil rights for other minority groups in the United States. So it's obvious that that is where you have to
Yeah, but
look.
you was also saying like you don't think that we're gonna get the money.
Well,
You were
I
saying
didn't think it
like
would
you
be
think
I
we
didn't think it
should
would be
get more
instant.
like
I didn't
recognition.
think it would be instant, right? So I thought it
So
would
do
take
you
some
think
time.
we should get money for reparations?
Well, I didn't say that. I didn't say that. I said that like I think it would take time to get the political will to do it. I didn't say actually didn't give an opinion on reparations. Like I think like if reparations is what's required to heal the divide, I actually think you could probably get plenty of people to support it. But what they have to see, Mel, and I would say Tariq as well, is I think that in order for folks to see that, you have to divorce the question of slavery and Black Americans from this whole deal of, everything that came in the last like 10, 20 years with all the other stuff. Like, that's what people get frustrated. It's like, what the hell? Like, gay marriage is now civil rights? Like, it's not the same thing as somebody that suffered slavery in their family. It's just not. It's
So
clearly
do you
not.
think we should get reparations as cash payments?
I actually said in the space earlier I would be open to that, like personally. But I think that like politically, it would be a very difficult thing to get. Like what I'm thinking is like in terms of like getting enough people to support it is a major political effort. So how do you do that? And also like make sure that it's something that America is like healing from, right? Like there's no reason to jam through a program. Like you want to make sure it's something that's positive. But like I actually believe if you took away a lot of the programs that don't end up helping people who are, for example, in a low income situation, who are Black Americans in, whether they're urban cities or rural. I mean, actually, I mean, that's obviously Tariq knows this, but not every white American for sure knows that there's plenty of poor Black Americans who are rural as well as urban, right? I mean, it's all over the place. But I could show you plenty of Black Americans in the Mississippi Delta who are poor as well. So I mean, all over the place, and it's a generational issue, and it goes back to slavery. I agree with that. I do
Robbie,
agree with that. So if you take that
hold
issue,
on, Jeff. Hold on. Let me get Robbie in. Let me get my brother Robbie. Then I'm gonna get Kanye to join the conversation. Hey, hang tight. Robbie, hop on, brother.
Good morning, Brother Tariq. Can you
I
hear
can
me?
hear you, sir. Go ahead.
Yeah. God bless you. I just want to say to Jess, it's funny that God is giving you guys a historical impasse to not make the mistake of your ancestors around Reconstruction. You had an opportunity to bring us as part of the integrated middle class, right? Because they say that, the common man, influences the government, influences vote. But because we were basically, whites were practicing economic Darwinism, now they're sobering up to the economic reality that you've created these oligarchies, and now you have corporatized democracy on the left, right, that pushes all those agendas that you're saying. So it's not necessarily Black people's job to try to repackage, the legacy of slavery to make it digestible for white people. I think what white people need to understand, we are your last saving grace and economic reality, that if you want to fight these elites, you need to compensate us and make us whole, because 200, what is it, $1 trillion worth of wealth was stolen from us, and you guys collectively have $140 trillion. But because you want to, bite your nose to spite your face and make sure the American Negroes at the bottom, now you're in a situation where you got like $60 trillion. Like, Elon Musk is the richest man in the world. He's a globalist and a neo-Nazi, and he's not thinking about you. The middle class is going to continue to shrink. So it's in your invested interest to be like an evangelist and tell your white brothers and sisters, hey, we need to go ahead and pay this debt, because the American Negro has never tried to sabotage America. We've been loyal to America. And if you're not careful, your retirement plan in the future is going to be a bowl of fentanyl, and people are going to be in a trailer running out of, N-word jokes, because the elites are here to take everything from you. That's all we hear people talking about. First, they think they're smart and they invest in crypto. They get ripped off. What do they start doing? They get on Spaces and start crying about the Jews and everybody else. And then once they go on a drug binge, right, and they get in that early retirement with the fentanyl, now they turn to Jesus, and now they turn into cowards. Donald Trump is doing gender reassignment to all the white males in Congress and in the Senate. Nobody has the testicular fortitude to stand up to him. Nobody has the testicular fortitude to stand up to the American people, because they're afraid of people like you, Jess, because they know that there's a lot of people who are angry, but they're misguided, and they don't want somebody to put a pipe bomb in their car. So they're going to just tell you to hate on us, to get against immigration. We're not the LGBTQ community. We're not feminists. We're not these other groups that are part-time minorities that want full-time benefits. Don't be a deadbeat. Finally, be a good Christian. You guys break all the 10 commandments. Anytime I see a white man's lips moving and his wallet not open, you guys are basically con men. You've broken every treaty known to man. You encourage the Native Americans to not join forces with us. You've practiced economic and what is it, physical genocide towards our people. If anything, we've been the ones that's been patient. But if you miss this opportunity to make this country whole, right, and you don't carry this message back to your people, then these elites that Alex Jones is always talking about, whether they got something for you, and your retirement plan is going to be a bowl of fentanyl. And I land my
My
plane.
man, thank you so much. Go ahead, Jess.
Well, since you addressed a few things here, Robbie, first, number one, my ancestors, none of them, and I have the whole genealogy, not a single one of my ancestors owned any slaves. And I'm not saying that because that excuses me from the fact that there was a white privilege. There was, but my family wasn't involved in it. So when you say
Let
you,
me slow you. Let me pump your brakes on that. I have to mute you. Doesn't matter if you were in the U.S., you benefited from it. The whole economy was based on slavery. Just because you didn't own a slave, that doesn't mean you didn't benefit from it. The entirety of the U.S. economy was built on the foundation of slavery. Every inch of it, nothing was excluded. Anything you can point to in the U.S. economy, it was born out of slavery. The railroad system, the banking system, the insurance companies, the medical industry, all of it came out of slavery. So just wanted to specify that so that you don't get to wiggle out of it by saying, well, I didn't own,
I'm not wiggling. I'm not Tariq. I'm not wiggling.
because I never, my family never put no Native Americans on the Trail of Tears, but my tax dollars go to paying red natives. So we got to look at it like that, sir. All right.
I understand. I understand what.
All right. Well, let me get Kanye. Let me get brother Kanye in here.
Yo, how's it going, man? Um, so when I hear these conversations and people tell us, well, we should start our claims, it kind of upsets me. Then I think about it that you guys don't know the history either. So outside of the slavery situation, when slavery ended, um, the only people who could do actual work in this country, any skilled work in the South, was black
Mhm.
people. So now Tobias had to get paid a fair wage for his work. So he had enough money to buy materials to build a home, build communities. A lot of black people did. All the skilled labor was done by black folk. And the rest of them moved up north to find work in factories. Now, the original DEI people, slave owners or not, were white people because the federal government, right, stepped in with these black codes. They removed federal troops from the South. And all they had to do was sign a non aggression pact or some bullshit like that. And they told them, this is the original DEI, they told those white old slave owners that they couldn't hire black folk anymore. They had to hire those poor white people who were eating clay and dirt for food because they didn't know how to use crop rotation. They didn't know anything about the soil. They didn't know how to build shit. They were very unskilled, very illiterate, and they literally made their living off of watching over black folks. That was it. So when black folks got free and all the work had to be done, had to be paid for, guess what? Those were starving. So the federal government stepped in and gave them the original DEI initiative. That's why we say, and guess what they were doing? They were burning down houses with the help of the government at the time,
Mhm.
local towns, mayors, sheriffs. They were helping chase the quote unquote Negroes out. So that's why when we say reparations starts at the slavery situation and then goes up, that's the claim. So when y'all say shit like, "Oh, we don't need to do," that's like telling the Jews, "Oh, don't start at the Holocaust. Start at 1957." Like, what? That doesn't make any sense.
Mhm.
So I just think that y'all should be very careful about how y'all tell us what to do, because all the major changes in this country we fought for, and the Democrats, not Republicans, the Democrats it over.
Yep.
The Democrats, the one said that being a woman is equal to being a minority,
Right.
which is why 70% of white women get DEI. But appreciate that, Flex.
Man, thank you so much, brother Kanye. Go ahead, Jess.
Yeah, so like, I mean, like, putting aside the like genealogical argument, right? Like me personally, okay, like what have I done? I mean, I've spent most of my career working in government and local government specifically. And my focus actually has been urban government renewal and economic development. Doesn't mean that I'm special, but I've actually spent more time in local urban government in like Detroit, East St. Louis, Compton. I mean, I've been to all these communities that are the traditionally thought of communities, working with local leaders on economic development. Not because I feel guilty, but because it's like I was an expert and I am an expert in that sort of thing.
Thank you, Jess. All right. All right. Let me get some more calls. Thank you. Okay. I can't do Mayo splaining. Okay. And no disrespect, Jeff, but that was Mayo splaining. And that's another tactic we got to watch out for. We got to watch out for the Mayo splaining. No disrespect, Jeff, but that's Mayo splaining. Well, somebody, they just get here splaining on why they don't want to do something and just talk incessantly. That's a that's a kind of deceptive tactic. That's a deceptive tactic because it's a time wasting tactic. You understand? I want black folks to not fall for the time wasting tactics. When it's time to get the money, all of a sudden we get these long ass David Crockett stories. Well, my dad was a mountain man and he lived in the wilderness and he killed a bear with his bare hands and he chopped down a tree and made a log cabin and we had a couple of Negroes who lived there in the cabin with him and my family has been racially progressive for a long time. And, those Negroes in that log cabin, they were like our family too. No, I don't want to hear that Davy Crockett ass bullshit. I don't. I don't want to hear that shit. Where's my money? All right. I don't want to hear. Where's the money? All right. We need that paper. Because listen, Jess, and let me talk to the people in the dominant society. Let me talk to the white brethren in here. Let me be real, and my brother Kanye touched on it. Y'all got finessed. Let me tell you, the white brethren, you guys are getting finessed by the white elitists. The white elitists use racism and they rile you up, making you believe that you're better than black folks, that you're part of this royal white family, that they hoard all the resources for, and then they flick a couple of crumbs to you. Basically, the deal is the white supremacists on top, they keep all the money and the resources and the wealth and the land and all of that stuff, and the rank and file white people in the trailer park, they say, well, okay, we're not going to criminalize you. So we'll let you smoke meth. We'll let you kill a couple of people. And we just won't prosecute you. We'll give you a little immunity of law. And that's the little prize you get for whiteness. And some of you are satisfied with that. They'd inflict a couple of crumbs to you while they're cleaning out your damn pockets and outsourcing jobs to the East Indians and they're screwing both of us, but you guys are like, well, damn it, you're screwing black people more, so I like that. While you're sitting up in your trailer park drinking Sunny Delight out of a mayonnaise jar. You see? Y'all done sat up here and let these white supremacists on top, the elitists, run a game on you. You see? We got to be compensated as foundational black Americans. If you want to get a real healing in this country, for real, you got to do compensatory justice. Yeah? Because remember, there's the wealthy whites, they understand how to make poor whites the overseers. Yeah. That's why, you know who I give props to a certain degree? The people who got it, who understood to a certain degree, were the white people who were the pirates. And I've talked about this before. The pirates have gotten a pretty bad rap over the years. They've been all portrayed as the bad guy. But when you start looking at history, were the pirates, you know, the guys who were going around the Caribbean in the late 1600s, early 1700s, the golden age of piracy, were they really the bad guys? When you start looking at the pirates, many of these were Europeans, and many of them were black. Many of the pirates were actually black, but these were Europeans who understood that the wealthy white landowners, they were evil as hell. So they were really fighting against them. They saw the evil things that they were doing. So a lot of the pirates were really against them. That's why many of the pirate ships were former slave ships. Queen Anne's Revenge, that was a slave ship. Most of those pirate ships were actually slave ships. They took those ships from slave traders, and they, in many cases, they freed a lot of black people. They don't tell you that part of the history. You see, a lot of pirates get a bad rap. A lot of them got a bad rap. They were really fighting against the exploitive landowners. That's why they call them landlubbers. The landlubbers. Yeah. They were really talking about them exploitive landowners who were fighting against them. Yeah. Real interesting history. But yeah, the white supremacists on top, they maintain the system of white supremacy to benefits to the majority of white people, but it also keeps the ruling white class in control. And even during slavery, we know that most white people didn't own black people, but they were given the illusion of superiority through social privileges that blinded them of their own economic struggles. Was it Lyndon B. Johnson who said this famous quote? He says, you let the lowest white man believe he's better than the richest black man. This white man will empty his pockets for you. I'm paraphrasing, but that quote is something like that. And that's a very true quote. You start telling broke ass white people that they're better than somebody, they'll hand their money over. And that's what the elitists, they've been doing to y'all. They've been running a game on you. Let me tell y'all something. Black people been saving your ass. You understand? This country, the reason why this country has the respect level that it has is because of us. We've been the moral backbone of this country. I want y'all to understand that. Let me tell you, this country probably would have been bombed by somebody years ago if it weren't for us. Foundational Black Americans, we're the moral backbone of this country. People know if you, the international community, you know, you're harming us, foundational Black Americans, that's a bad look. You're not going to get no sympathy. That's why whenever there's um, a hostage situation overseas where they're kidnapping Americans, there's a reason why they let the black people go. All right? I want y'all to think about that. All the white people listening, whenever there's a hostage situation overseas, they let us go. Remember that Iran situation like in 1979, right? The Iranians, they kidnapped a bunch of Americans over there in Iran. And they let all the black ones go. They let the foundational Black Americans go. You know? Also, in hostage situations or negotiation situations, you have to send foundational Black Americans over there to get folks. They had to send Jesse Jackson over to certain places to get people. Yeah. I think Muhammad Ali got some hostages from, I think, Saddam Hussein or somebody. Dennis Rodman got some white people who were hostage, who were held hostage in like Korea somewhere. Dennis Rodman. Yeah. So yeah, we have to go and save people because we got the moral capital of this nation.